9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to today's Girls and STEAM Career Path Adventures on International Women's Day. Today, we're celebrating some amazing women in STEAM, which stands for science, technology, engineering, art and design, and math. My name is Izzy, and I will be the host for today's event. I would like to begin by gratefully acknowledging that Science World is located on the traditional, ancestral, and unceded territories of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh nations. During today's event, we'll meet 3 STEAM professionals who all have very different types of jobs, from biotech to spacecraft design to creating sustainable beauty products. We can't wait to hear about the career path adventures that got them to where they are today, and all the twists and turns that I'm sure they experienced along the way. We'd like to start off by recognizing STEMCELL Technologies, the presenting partner of Girls in STEAM. Our major partner, Acuitas Therapeutics, and our premium partners, BCIT and Fujitsu Intelligence Technology. It's with their support and partnership that we're able to host events like this throughout the year. Our technician, Larry, will be monitoring the chat today, so if you have any technical issues, pop your questions in the chat and they will be happy to assist. Feel free to share any questions or your reactions to any of the mentors' presentations. We'll also have a Q&A session at the end, so get your questions prepared. We do ask you that you keep the comments in the chat respectful and relevant to the topics being discussed, and please do not share any personal information online. Well, I know we've had people registering from all over BC, the US, and even further abroad. So we would love to hear where you're joining us from and how many people are with you. So please do pop that in the chat function. As you're entering your location into the chat, let's introduce our first presenter, Coral Lewis. Coral completed her PhD in biomedical physiology, where she investigated the potential for using blood cells as vehicles to deliver therapies to the spinal cord. How cool is that? Coral now works in the biomedical sector as the Associate Director of Product Management, Hematology at STEMCELL Technologies. As well as this, Coral loves being outdoors, including multi-day bike trips and spending time with her 2 dogs. We can't wait to hear more about your career path adventure, Coral. Oh, I think we have our second speaker on the stage. So maybe if we could bring Coral up. Here we go. Amazing. Thanks so much, Coral.
Great. Thank you very much, Izzy. And thanks very much for the opportunity to talk about my career path adventure with you all today. I will just proceed.
Do you want your slides to come up?
That would be great. Yes, please.
Fantastic.
Here they are. Great. As Izzy mentioned, my name is Coral Lewis. I'm Director of Product Management for Hematology here at STEMCELL Technologies. And to get things started, I thought I'd give you a brief introduction of who STEMCELL is. STEMCELL is a biotech company located in Vancouver, British Columbia, and our mission is to advance the pursuit of scientific knowledge by supplying high-quality, innovative reagents, tools, and services that enable life sciences research. And we like to speak about ourselves as scientists helping scientists. We've been in the business for about 30 years now. We have 2,500 employees located across the globe that support a portfolio of over 2,500 products. STEMCELL is also proud to say that it's an equal opportunity employer, and 56 of our employees currently identify as women. So I'd like to take you through my career path to product management in biotech. And to get things started, I thought I'd actually introduce you what product management is, because I know at your time in my life, I wasn't familiar with the career opportunity at all. So a product manager is a person who identifies the customer need and the larger business objectives that a product will fulfill. They articulate what success looks like for a product and really rally and align cross-departmental teams to turn that product vision into a reality. As a product manager, this includes performing market research to understand what the opportunity is, what the product should do to meet that opportunity, then taking that information to developmental groups that facilitate design, as well as working with operational teams and sales and marketing to commercialize and facilitate the success of the product throughout its life cycle. So there's a lot of considerations that go into developing a product and developing and commercializing products, and PMs may wear many different hats, sometimes at the same time, to help facilitating bringing a product to reality. So how did I find my way to product management, which is a career I'd honestly never heard of until I started to interview with STEMCELL Technologies? So I actually was born and raised in Burnaby. I'm a third generation Vancouverite. And growing up, I really had sort of three buckets of interest. These were playing soccer, classical guitar, but also science. And it was really science that drove my curiosity about the world. And I really doubled down on this when I pursued a bachelor's degree of science at Simon Fraser University. My first 2 years of my bachelor's of science were spent sort of surveying sciences and getting an understanding of more general sciences, but it was really physiology, or the science of life, that really struck my interest. This is a branch of biology that aims to understand the mechanisms of living things from the basis of cell function and ionic or molecular levels of understanding through to the integrated behavior of the whole body and the influence of the external environment on how that body functions. So it's really the culmination of a number of small, distinct parts of increasing complexity, which are built together to result in a functional organism, which for me in my studies was the human. Over the course of my studies, I became particularly interested in neurobiology, especially neuropathology. But following my graduation, I still wasn't sure what I wanted to do next. To this end, I took a couple of months and worked as a barista refining my latte art. But actually, during these months, I received a call from one of my former professors who actually taught my favorite course, which was the neurobiology of disease. And he asked if I would be interested in coming into his lab to work on a project he was developing. So I accepted the invitation and joined the lab of Dr. Charles Krieger in 2005. The project that I worked on involved investigating whether the cells in our blood could be used as delivery vehicles to transport treatments or therapies into the brain and spinal cord during neurodegenerative disease, or the death of neurons. The disease we investigated was ALS, also known as motor neuron disease, which is characterized by the progressive degeneration of a specific type of nerve cells in the spinal cord and brain that results in the progressive loss of motor function and paralysis. Over the course of my degree, I studied where the blood cells went. Those are those green cells in that picture in the middle there, into the spinal cord, and those red structures are blood vessels. And over 6 years, I completed and defended my findings in a very long thesis. But after this point, I really felt I had been in school enough and was looking for a job. But I was also still interested in some of the things I had seen, particularly what you can see in this figure on the bottom right here, which is a robust neuroinflammatory response that often accompanies neurodegenerative diseases, but that we really had little understanding of at this time. So while I was looking for a job, I actually received another call, this time from Dr. Fabio Rossi at the University of British Columbia. And really serendipitously, he was very much interested in the same thing I was and wanted to better understand and characterize this neuroinflammatory response. So he asked if I would like to join his lab as a postdoctoral scientist. I said yes, I would come and work with him for 2 years. However, the experience was exceeded my expectations, and I ended up staying there as a scientist for 5 years. During this time, Dr. Rossi was really integral into helping me develop my problem-solving skills and how I could use sort of science and experimentation to answer the questions that we needed to answer in this field. The focus of my research at this time was really identifying the good, the bad, and the ugly aspects of the neuroinflammatory response and finding points of intervention where we could dampen down those sort of ugly and bad effects of neuroinflammation and really turn up those beneficial regenerative or healing effects. However, after 5 years, you all may be very familiar with the term starving artists, but there are also a lot of starving scientists out there. And it was time, I found, for me to get a job. That being said, I still didn't really know what I wanted to do. I went to a number of different career panels, and to be honest, the best advice I ever received was to just get a job. So I actually ended up speaking to a number of my former colleagues, or they actually spoke to me about their experiences working with STEMCELL Technologies. I then reached out to a recruiter, explained my situation and where my interests lie, and she recommended a job in product management. Again, I'd never really heard of this career before, but I was interested because it required that you really work across the company, whether it be with research and development, operational commercialization teams, our business development group, marketing and sales. And it really sort of provided me an opportunity to look at all these areas to see if there was something I was more interested in. But really, it was product management that fit the bill for me. The scope of this role is quite broad compared to more specialized roles such as sales, marketing, or engineering. And as discussed, our PMs sort of lead initiatives that cross all departments within the company. I found that my background as a scientist was certainly not wasted because I understood what the technology needed to do, as well as what problems we needed to solve for scientists working in the field. And since my time at STEMCELL Technologies, I've come to manage cell culture media products, as well as cell separation products and robots that facilitate these type of media platforms. Over the 7 years I've been working at STEMCELL, I've elevated myself to the role of Director of Product Management in Hematology, where I now have a team of product managers that work for me, specializing in areas of scientific research, the development of products to support cell therapies, as well as diagnostics. Where I want to go in my career, or continue to grow my career, is really on the strategy part of my job, which was sort of my favorite part, and really, again, enabled me to leverage those problem-solving skills and creative thinking skills that I developed as a scientist. And with that, if there were sort of 3 take-homes that I learned from my adventurous career path, it was to stay curious. Always try to engage your brain. It's going to make any experience more enjoyable for you. Don't lose sight of the big picture, but understand that it is the sum of all of its parts, and each of those parts is important to get you to that big picture. And if you ever find you're in year 5 of a postdoctoral scientist position and a bit panicked with what to do next, just get a job and figure out what you'd like to do from there. And with that, I think I will hand it back to you, Izzy.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Coral. Wow, what a career path you've had. Almost desperate to try one of your lattes, though, from your experience as a barista. No, but yeah, awesome. Thank you so much. And great to hear about the experience you had as going through kind of all the different steps in education right up to where you are now. Well, we will be bringing all of our mentors back at the end, guys. So if you have any questions for Coral, want to know a bit more about what she does, or how more details about how she got there, please start gathering your questions and we'll bring them up at the end. Before we bring on our next mentor, I want to just do a few shout outs. We've got people from all over the shop here, so that's great. We have people over in Kamloops. Hi, everyone out in Kamloops. Hi, everyone at Charles Dickens Elementary. Even someone from Phoenix. Hi, the US. That's great to see you there. Some people here in Burnaby and Vancouver as well. So thank you so much, guys, for joining us. It's great to have so many people from all over the place with us today. So our next presenter that I want to introduce is Shannon Archer, who you saw on the screen very briefly earlier. Shannon is the Spacecraft and Mission Systems Team Lead at Space Alpha Insights. What a cool job. This means that Shannon works on lots of different things, including everything from designing spacecraft constellations and satellite ground stations. Outside of work, Shannon is a competitive marathon runner, having done 6 different marathons. Wow, Shannon, we are so excited to have you with us here today.
Hi, everyone. I'm so excited to be here and to talk about my career a little bit. So my name is Shannon Archer, and I am a Spacecraft and Mission Systems Engineering Team Lead. What a mouthful. We can pull up my slides here. Larry, would appreciate that. Thank you. So that's quite a mouthful. For those of you in a classroom today, raise your hand if back in elementary school in grade 1, grade 2, when the teacher said, "Who wants to be an astronaut?" Who said yes? Because back in the day, that was my answer. I wanted to be an astronaut. So when it came to my career and time to make those decisions, I thought, I'll just see how far I can get. And though I may not be an astronaut, today I design spacecraft for a living, which I think is pretty great. So that's a long job title. What do you actually do? Yes, the short version is I design spacecraft, but the long version is I'm responsible for designing all of the little pieces that need to come together to make the spacecraft work. I'm responsible for the entire system that is how spacecraft work. So what's the system? Well, let's talk a little bit about spacecraft. So I work in optical and SAR spacecraft, which means I take pictures of the Earth. So things you might see on Google Maps, those are the types of pictures I take. So when we're designing a spacecraft, the first thing we need is a research engineer, someone who's going to build us a fancy camera that can work in space. That's kind of step one. Then we kind of need to put that camera on a rocket ship and send it to space. So we need an aerospace engineer to do that. And when you put a camera inside a rocket ship, you can kind of imagine that's like throwing your phone inside your laundry machine. It's just going to get shaken up and it's got to move really fast. So you can't just throw a camera in there. You have to build a structure. So we need a mechanical engineer, someone who's going to build us a really stable box to keep our camera safe while it's being really shaken up and moved really fast going into space. So once you have that, we get into space and this rocket ship lets go of us. Our spacecraft is floating in the vastness of space. And we kind of need to control where we're going, right? We need to make sure we're pointed at the Earth. So we need thrusters. So we need a propulsion engineer. We've now strapped a small rocket onto the back of our satellite. Well, that thruster is going to shake our spacecraft. So we got to go back to that structural engineer and say, okay, build a better box. Your box isn't strong enough. We have another rocket. Okay, so we build a better box. But then space is really, really cold. And it also gets really, really hot when you're directly in front of the sun. So imagine you took your cell phone that we've had in the laundry machine and you put it in your oven at max temperature for an hour. That's like being in front of the sun when you're in space. All that radiation is going to heat up your cell phone. And then we're going to take that cell phone out of the oven and you're going to put it in the freezer. And you're going to do this 3 to 4 times a day, depending on the kind of orbit our spacecraft is in. And we're going to do that for 10 years without ever checking on it. So you can kind of imagine your phone's not going to work. So we need a thermal engineer to build a robust heating and cooling system so our spacecraft never breaks. Okay, then what next? We try to turn our camera on, but we need electricity. So we need an electrical engineer to build us solar panels so we can get electric power from the sun to turn our camera on. Well, yeah, we've built solar panels. Okay, those are big and heavy. We have to rebuild the box, but now the box is bigger and stronger. So our thrusters need to be bigger and stronger to move the box. Okay, so now we're moving the box, but now the whole spacecraft's bigger. Does it even still fit on the rocket ship? Is anyone seeing a problem? We've got all these really smart engineers, and every time they solve a problem, they cause a new problem for someone else. So we end up here. Oh, that didn't show. Oh, no. Well, there's supposed to be the meme of the Spider-Men pointing at each other right here. For some reason, my picture didn't connect. But we have a bunch of smart people. Everyone thinks they're right, and they think everyone else needs to change their design. So what are you going to do? Somebody's got to organize that chaos. And somebody's got to understand enough about everything to understand all these problems. How are you going to find that person? Well, you need a systems engineer, a super smart person who knows everything about everything, but that person doesn't exist. You're going to learn as you grow up that you can't know everything about everything. You cannot always be right in life. This person isn't real. So we get the next best thing, which is what I do, which means you are a jack of all trades. You are somebody who's curious about everything and wants to learn about all the types of science and engineering. So you're a jack of all trades. You know enough about thermal dynamics that you can tell the thermal engineer when they're wrong. You know enough about designing electrical circuits that you can help the electrical engineer make their solar panels and battery system fit into the spacecraft. You know enough about orbital dynamics that you can understand what kind of thrusters we really need and when they are too big or they are too small. You need somebody to stand in the middle of all these really smart people and know just enough to figure out who's right, know just enough to make the puzzle pieces fit together. But a systems engineer, like I said, you're a jack of all trades, but you're a master of none. You're not the smartest person in the room. You do not know everything, but you are highly organized. You care about the details and you care about the bigger picture. So how did I get here? Because when I was your age, I didn't know about this job. Like I said, I just wanted to be an astronaut. So it starts pretty early. Some of you are probably thinking about high school soon, or you're already there. Well, in high school, you need to take all your physics classes and your chemistry classes and your calculus classes. You need to take all of your math and you need to try to get some good grades. So you're going to have to study. When you finish high school, you're going to need to go to university. I went to Carleton University, which is in Ottawa, Ontario, and I did a bachelor's of aerospace engineering, and I specialized in space systems design. Some of the jobs I've kind of talked about today, like research engineers and structural engineers, you're probably going to need a postgraduate degree. So you're going to need to get a master's degree or even a PhD to be able to work in an industry like space. And one great reason to go into engineering is a lot of engineers, though there are some engineers like research engineers who really do need postdoctoral work and postgraduate work. A lot of types of engineers, like myself, you only need a bachelor's degree. So that means 4 years of school after high school, which is a lot more doable if you're someone like me who, when I went to go look into what it takes to be an astronaut, I found out I needed like 12 more years of school. And I was like, oh, that's a little too much for me. So I think something I would love to leave you guys with today is kind of what it takes to be an engineer. And I want to say that it takes all kinds of people to be engineers because we have all sorts of problems in this world to solve. And the more diverse group of people we have who become engineers, the more solutions we come up with problems because we all think differently. If you're someone who's thinking to yourself, well, I'm not that good at math, but I speak 2 languages at home and I'm a really good writer, you might make an amazing software engineer because software engineering is language. You're using your language skills to write logical sentences in a new language. There's lots of different skill sets. So if you're not somebody who cares about how cars work, or you're not somebody who wants to take your computer apart and put it back together, that does not mean you're not going to make an amazing engineer because there's so many types of engineers and there's so many skill sets we need in our profession. Anyway, if anyone has any questions for me, I'm happy to answer them.
Thank you so much, Shannon. That was fascinating. Wow, I did not know there were so many people involved to get, obviously, I guess it makes sense to get things up to space. That was so interesting. Thank you for talking through. And I think we've got some wannabe astronauts in the chat. 6 out of 23 people who are wannabe astronauts in one of the classrooms. So you just got to listen to Shannon, guys, and take on her advice. We will be having a Q&A session at the end of this, the final 15 minutes. So start gathering those questions for Shannon, Coral, and our final mentor who we're going to bring up now as well. So our final mentor that we have today is Zohor Hassan, who is the founder of beauty brand Within Beauty. Zohor is passionate about creating sustainable, high-quality products. Zohor actually went back to school to research new shampoo formulas that could be both sustainable, plant-based, and good for your hair. Zohor is passionate about the environment and is on a mission to reduce the carbon footprint of the beauty industry. Zohor, welcome, and we are so excited to hear from you.
Hi, thank you for having me. I'm super excited. Hi, everyone. My name is Zohor, just like Izzy said, and I'm the founder of Within Beauty, which is a locally made plant-based and sustainable hair care brand. I'm very excited to share my journey with you all because this is kind of a full circle moment for me. I'm born in Vancouver, so I used to go to Science World as a kid all the time with field trips and things. So this is really, really cool. So I'll start with a little background story about me first, because I think with any founder business or small business, there's always a journey behind that kind of propels you to start and create something. So again, I'm born in Vancouver, and I am a first-generation Somali Canadian, which means my parents came from Somalia, which is in East Africa, and they weren't born here. So I have a like dual, I guess, community that I have. Yeah, so being born here allowed me to envision all these possibilities of how I want my life to look when I get older. It allowed me a sense of freedom that my parents did not have access to. And this includes freedom of education. I was privileged enough to be sent to a private school up until grade 8, and then I enrolled in a public school in Vancouver. Being born by parents who were not from here, growing up, I had struggled with the sense of belonging. And I think a lot of people can kind of understand that if you're not specifically, your parents aren't from here, but you are. Vancouver is much more multicultural now, of course, but my upbringing, which was over 10 years ago, was a little less diverse. So while trying to navigate the transition of going from private school to public school, and then also certain values at home and trying to navigate being in Vancouver and then having East African culture, not realizing that actually both sides of my upbringing will eventually be the inspiration to start my business. So during elementary and high school, there was a lot of pressure to figure out what I wanted to do. And honestly, I had no clue at the time. I just remember taking as many different classes as I could to understand at least what I'm not interested in. I understand that not knowing what you want to do can feel overwhelming, but it's normal. And I thought I knew what I wanted to do, but it changed so many times as well, and it will continue to change. I didn't know what direction I wanted to take until I actually turned 25, and here I am running a whole business. So yeah. The reason why I created Within, the simplified version, I would say, is all the hair care products on the market were not that great and full of toxic chemicals. So while searching for healthy hair products that provide natural nutrients, I became increasingly aware of the harmful impact of the hair care products on my health and the people that I loved and the environment around me. I was really into outdoor activities growing up. So I would be in the mountains, out by the lake, hanging out with friends at the beach. So the older I got, I started learning more and more about how the ingredients and the products I was using was actually detrimental to the places that I loved. So as a East African Canadian, I naturally embody values of inclusion and environmental awareness. So I set out to create a brand that prioritizes personal wellness and planetary wellness. So growing up, I didn't see a lot of hair care brands that were inclusive and showed love to all types of different backgrounds. My brand is for everyone who wants to celebrate their hair, whether it be straight, curly, or wavy. I created products for everyone to take care of the hair and celebrate their beauty. So these are a little bit of the products that we have. And we're plant-based, sustainably made, and cruelty-free. That's the majority of our ethos. And pursuing your education with purpose. So my journey wouldn't have unfolded if I had not educated myself on something that I was passionate about, because there's passion and then there's education as well. So education was key, and I was unable to start my business as an entrepreneur without it. I decided to go back to school, this time to become certified in plant-based formulations. And this allowed me to pinpoint ingredients that should not be in our hair care products and the ingredients that should. And without going to school, I would not have been able to do that. And then sustainability within the beauty industry. So because Within is made in Vancouver, every product that is crafted locally significantly diminishes our brand's carbon footprint. And we formulate in small batches to ensure gentleness on everyone's hair and sustainability for the planet, so there's no waste. Many larger brands manufacture in different places around the world, and then they also source their ingredients from different places in the world as well. So we chose to take the eco-conscious route. Our products are created in small batches to also ensure high quality and zero waste. So we craft formulations with ingredients that are kind to our consumers and kind to our planet, which is sustainability. So I believe that a sustainable business model is one that puts people, planet, and animals first. And I think if you're starting a business after 2020, I think putting these values are really important instead of just starting another generic brand that doesn't really make any difference in the world. So a little bit about clean beauty versus toxic beauty products. I'm not sure how familiar you are with clean beauty and toxic, but I broke down a little bit. So toxic beauty is damaging our health, the animals around us, and the planet we live in. And clean beauty is taking care of our bodies without harming the planet and leaving the earth better than we found it. So one example is something called forever chemicals. So taking a closer look into the hair care products we use today, I realized that many beauty products, along with hundreds and hundreds of other toxic ingredients, contain polyfluoroalkyl substances, which stand for PFAS. And they're known as forever chemicals. So they're not only found in clothing, they're actually found in beauty products as well. And these substances serve as ingredients, usually when you find something that says smooth application across hair or skin or things like that. Usually those ingredients are used and they're found in hair care, skincare, and sunscreen products. Approximately 170 of these ingredients are used in cosmetics, and about 80,000 kilograms of these ingredients are also discharged into the wastewater, so into our oceans, into our lakes, and worldwide. And it's definitely a worldwide environmental issue. And due to the lack of breakdown of these ingredients, these chemicals persist and they accumulate. They're not only harmful on the planet, but they're also harmful on our health as well. And I'm going to talk a little bit about partnership during my journey. So partnership is really important when creating a business. I would definitely say partner with like-minded business owners, allow for your vision to become larger and with more reach and visibility. The moment I realized that the importance of partnership was when I looked into the data that showed that over 1 million hair care products in Canadian stores alone had a lot of toxic ingredients in them. And there was a recall that a lot of these products had to be taken off the shelves, unfortunately. And these are just like our regular grocery stores that we go into. So I made it a mission to partner with retail stores to try and make that a difference. So for us, we partnered with Whole Foods because Whole Foods aligns with our business. They also are health conscious and they ban over 180 ingredients in personal care products. So this partnership just makes sense. So definitely when doing a business, just partnerships that align with what you want to do. And embracing your vision of beauty. So of course, our brand is called Within because we believe that you need to just embrace the hair that you're given, the beauty that you're given, and just make it better with just better products and healthy products. So in a world where every day there's a new trend for you to keep up with, I'm a huge advocate of embracing who you are and showing up as your most authentic self. In order to pursue your dreams, you have to just stay true to yourself and just know that trends that definitely change constantly. The only thing you can control is growing into who you want to be, and understanding the person will always evolve and grow as you grow. And loving yourself through every stage of your growth is crucial to understanding that you are special and everyone always has a story and a purpose and a passion that the world wants to see. So you realize once you get older with age, being authentic is actually loved more than following the next trend. And I left a little characteristics to help build on your entrepreneurial journey, because I'm sure there's a lot of you who maybe want to start your own business or see yourself doing something that is a little bit different than everybody else. And these are the characteristics I would say try to just grow with. So perseverance is super important. Self-belief is a huge one. Resiliency, if you make mistakes with different career paths or different things that you want to do, you just pivot and try something new, never give up. And your passion, definitely make sure there's something that you are passionate about. And self-confidence and consistency. So I'd like to thank everyone for their attention today. And I would like to also leave you with just 3 little tips. Firstly, I hope you see the value and the power of education like I do as a stepping stone to pursue your passion. And secondly, to become a little more environmentally conscious when you came here today. And also to continue creating, dreaming, and collaborating with like-minded classmates around you. And just one fact, since it is Women's Day, only 15% of founders are female, and the beauty industry sells primarily to women. So it's run by mostly men. So I just wanted to put that fact out there as well.
Wow. Oh my gosh. Zuhur, thank you so much. It's so interesting to see how you combined your passion for sustainability and beauty with actually creating your own business and making some change and some difference in the world. So thank you so much for sharing all of that.
Thank you for having me.
It's such a pleasure. We're actually going to bring the rest of our mentors back onto the screen now, as we have got about 10 minutes left for some questions from anyone out there watching today. So please feel free to pop some questions in the chat. I see we already have a couple coming through. While we wait for a few more to come in, I'm gonna kick us off because I've got a question for you guys. And some of the questions you maybe just sort of touched on it a little, Coral, but I wondered what the most important thing that you learned at school was. So I'll put that out there.
I think the most important thing I learned at school or throughout the course of my education was really how to critically evaluate problems and then, creative problem solving. I think that's something that's was established throughout my education, is definitely something that's supported my role in industry as well.
Cool. Thanks, Coral.
I think one of the most important things I learned in school was to be stubborn about finding the right answer. Sometimes a problem is hard. You need to be resilient. You need to be stubborn with yourself that you're going to find the right answer if you just keep searching. And I think that skill set has taken me very far in my career.
Awesome. Wow. I love that. I love that attitude. Thanks, Shannon.
I would definitely say just making sure that you really get in the nitty-gritty of facts. So whatever career you want to take, definitely learn as much as you can, because you also have your ideas, but you also need facts to kind of pursue and kind of push you in the right direction.
Awesome. Yeah, like combining that passion with that education piece that you spoke about. So awesome. Thank you. So we have some questions coming in. One from Darren. I think that's how you pronounce your name. He says, for Shannon, what were some barriers that you faced as a female going into the space industry? I actually think that this question, I'd love to hear from everyone about that, because you're all leaders in this industry on International Women's Day.
Sure. Thank you so much for the question. I think the first barrier I faced going into the space industry, but engineering alone, is that this is a male-dominated field. When I went through university, my aerospace engineering class had less than 5% women. So you were a bit of a minority trying to work your way through a program. And I think also dealing with misogyny that still exists in the workplace and in the educational system is a barrier that holds us back. And people thinking that you can't do it. When I was in high school, I had my calculus teacher. I had the best mark in my calculus class. I got 99%. And my calculus teacher said, "Why do you want to be an engineer? You're so pretty." Things like that hold us back. And I think it's really important that women stand together and understand that you're more than just a pretty face. You are a smart, intelligent person, and you should chase your dreams no matter who tells you you can't do it.
Awesome. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. Thank you, Shannon. I'd love to hear from Coral and Zuhur how you found getting into these industries as women as well.
Sure. I can speak on my side sort of through the sciences. I really probably noticed it more during my early undergrad when you were doing sort of physics and chemistry. There was a bit of definitely a male-dominated area. But honestly, as I moved through grad school and my postdoc, I kind of forgot. And then it's only now when I look back that you sort of realize, well, I should have been a bit better of an advocate for myself. I think that's something as a woman we don't do enough in the job place. So I've sort of taken those lessons from my postdoc and have applied them in my career here. But yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, I would definitely say it is difficult. Like I said, the percentage is only 15%. when it comes to women founders in the beauty industry. That is primarily us buying the products. And then also I know that women of color is also even a lower statistic as well. So there's a barrier being women and also women of color that I had to overcome during my journey. But it's just, you have to stay true to who you are, stay true to the brand that you built, and know that you built it and you love it, and it'll translate.
Fantastic. Amazing. Yeah, thank you so much. It's really inspiring to hear your stories. We've had some questions come through for each of you as well. So Shannon, a couple of questions for you is, how long does it take to complete a project? And what is the most interesting project that you've worked on?
Ooh, okay. Most interesting project I've worked on, I would say my most recent project, which was developing a spacecraft constellation to replace the Canadian Space Agency's RCM constellation that's currently in orbit. That constellation should end its life in approximately 7 years. And at that time, we need to replace that constellation. That is the Canadian Space Agency's largest asset in space. It does a lot, that particular asset that we're replacing, this watches our oceans for illegal fishing. This monitors our defense in our borders. This monitors agriculture in Canada. This also, we use this to monitor the ice caps, how they are changing, and climate change, as well as forest fires, which is a big issue here in BC, which we do using microbolometers, which is I'm working on a FireSat project as well for the Canadian Space Agency. It's a separate project where we monitor forest fires, which is something that is near and dear to my heart as a BC lover of our forests. So a lot of really interesting projects. I would say how long a project takes. So how we define space projects, their life. We use NASA's Systems Engineering Handbook Guide, which takes a spacecraft from the first time we came up with the idea to when the spacecraft dies in space and we actually need to recycle it, so destroy our own spacecraft so we don't create more space junk. So the planning and design phase of a spacecraft can be anywhere from 1 to 3 or 4 years for unmanned spacecraft, so no humans on board. The manufacturing process, which kind of takes place at the same time to some extent, is 2 to 3 years. And most spacecraft that I design have a lifespan in space of 7 to 10 years. So from start to finish, we are looking at like 15 years between when you started to when the spacecraft died.
Wow, that's a long time. Thank you, Shannon. Question for you, Coral, that's come in around your passion for soccer when you were growing up. Did you have any soccer players that inspired you in particular?
Not so much, but growing up in Burnaby, and I went to the same high school as Christine Sinclair, so we played together a little bit growing up. So yeah, I got a chance to play with the GOAT as a kid. So was very happy to see her in her career as she progressed to the national team and the things she's been able to accomplish.
Awesome. And just kind of following on from that, was there anything that you, from your kind of soccer, being a soccer player, that helped you kind of pursue your education and become a STEAM professional?
Maybe indirectly, more sort of that team camaraderie. My current role is very much a team effort, and so that's definitely helped recognizing that I don't own anything, but I'm part of a team that contributes to bringing something to market.
Awesome. I love that. Yeah, I think sports and anything that you do kind of outside of the classroom can be so helpful for helping in that, in your career. Zahor, we have a question coming here for you. How old were you when you learned about the toxins in products and when you started on your path to kind of overcoming them?
Yeah, so I would say in regards to education, I did go through the process at 25, so I was a bit older. But I always did know that I wanted to start a business and that I always wanted my own brand at a very young age, which is interesting because I didn't grow up in a family that was business owners. It was just more so knowing what I wanted for myself at a young age. But yeah, definitely the education piece was at 25, and then just learning more and more as I go. I think every day I'm learning something new and every day I'm taking new courses. It doesn't really ever stop. So yeah.
Awesome. We love that ongoing education here at Science World. So great to hear. Conscious of time, I think we probably only have time for one more question. So I'll put one out to the whole group. around what your favorite subjects were in school, and were you always interested in STEAM careers? I don't mind. Who wants to kick off first? Sorry, it's a big question.
I always loved biology, oddly enough. Like, I just loved learning about animals, the human body, like all of that was super, super interesting to me. And I think that's the reason why it led me to take the route of the ethos and the values behind my business. Definitely.
Cool. Awesome. Thank you.
So I would say my answer is math, but I didn't like math in elementary school. When we were learning our times tables and fractions and division, I did not enjoy that part of math. I thought it was very boring. And it wasn't until high school when you start to learn about calculus and differential equations, when the math starts to get a little less applicable to your everyday life. That's when I thought math started to get really, really interesting. And I think something that's really reflected well in my life is that if you think nobody's bad at math, you just haven't had the right math teacher to help you understand. And I just kind of want to leave with a little example. When you're trying to cross the street and there's a car coming and you're trying to figure out, oh, do I have to walk a little faster or a little slower? Like, how do I beat this car? I'm going to cross the street. You're doing calculus in your head when you solve that problem. When you speed up so that you pass the street before the car gets there, you just did calculus in your head. You can do math. You just need the right teacher to help you understand that you can do math.
Wow, awesome. I wish I had had that when I was growing up, because I was always scared of math. So I'll remember that next time I'm crossing the street, that I'm doing calculus in my head. Thank you. Coral, and then just finally over to you around this question.
Sure. I guess sort of in high school, actually, my favorite subject was calculus. Or not calculus, sorry, I'm calling Shannon, chemistry, the other C one. So it was actually chemistry. And following high school, I kind of had to decide between pursuing science or actually music, which was my other interest at the time. So I went with chemistry actually for my first 2 years, because I figured that's sort of the foundation of everything around us. It's the building blocks of everything around us. But that got dry a little bit soon. So then I sort of went to the other spectrum, which was physiology, where it's the combination of all those small building blocks to something that is sort of a very complex and functioning entity.
Amazing. Well, thank you guys all so much. I'm afraid that is all we have time for today. But just a huge thank you and round of applause again for all of our incredible mentors. We have really, it's been so interesting to hear about the hugely diverse experiences that you've had. Again, before we end, I just want to thank our presenting partner, STEMCELL Technologies, our major partner, Acuitas Therapeutics, and our premium partners, Fujitsu, Intelligence Technology, and BCIT, for their generous support of these events. And just before we leave, to all adults and teachers who are on the call with us, please do keep an eye out for an email from myself. This will contain some resources from Science World and also a feedback form about the event. Now, I know no one likes completing feedback forms, but we would really appreciate it if you could help fill this out, as it helps us keep making these events better and better. And once you've completed it, you might even find a surprise discount code for our online science store. So a little bit of encouragement to take you there. If you'd be interested in seeing any parts of this program again, the stream will stay active with the recording, so you can access it through the same link you used to join us or on the Science World YouTube page. If you've enjoyed today, thank you so much. And if you want to take part or be involved with any other Girls in STEAM events, please visit us on www.scienceworld.ca/today/events. Thank you all for joining us. Thank you to our mentors, and stay curious.